My life turned upside down in ways I could never have imagined. My wife, Julia, transformed what was once a quiet suburban existence into chaos. And the cruelest part all was that she used our 5-year-old son, Leo, as her weapon. For years, I believed I was living a good life. I worked steadily as an architect. We had a home I had personally designed, a marriage that seemed strong, and a son who was my pride and joy. Julia and I had been together for a decade. We came from similar, modest backgrounds, and I thought we had built something solid together. When Leo was born, I felt our family was complete. But then the cracks began to show. At first, they were almost invisible, just small shifts. Julia talked more and more about a man she met at her gym, a trainer who would become her new friend. Soon, she was spending more time there and less time with us. Her temper grew short. The warmth in our home seemed to vanish. One afternoon, I came home early with a pounding headache and overheard her whispering on the phone. "He's just so present, always here. It's too much." My heart sank. She wasn't talking about me. That same evening, she dropped a bombshell. She wanted a divorce. No warning, no explanation beyond vague words like, "I'm not happy anymore. We've grown apart." The divorce process was like being dragged through fire. Julia changed overnight from the woman I thought I knew into someone calculating and hostile. She hired a lawyer notorious for cutthroat custody battles. Their first move was an attempt to get a restraining order against me, claiming I was unstable and dangerous to her and Leo. It was denied, but it was only the beginning. Then came the custody fight. She demanded full custody, leaving me with only supervised visits. I was devastated at the thought of losing my daily life with Leo. I found my own attorney, Mr. Allen, a calm, steady man who had once worked as a public defender. He advised me to stay composed, document everything, and be ready for any false claim. He was right. Not long after, Julia accused me of being abusive to both her and our son. She alleged that I had a violent temper, that I yelled constantly, even that I had laid hands on Leo. My blood froze. This wasn't about money or property anymore. This was about ripping my son away from me forever. Across the negotiation table, I saw no trace of the woman I had loved, only hatred. The weeks that followed were unbearable. Papers were served accusing me formally of abuse. I could hardly sleep. During one of my video calls with Leo, part of the court's temporary arrangement, I noticed he seemed withdrawn. He wouldn't meet my eyes. When I gently asked what was wrong, he whispered, "Mommy says I have to remember something for court." My chest tightened. She was coaching him. I needed proof. That's when I remembered the small camera I kept in my home office to watch our dog while we were away. I searched through old recordings for hours until I found it. A day when Julia and Leo had been in the living room while I was at work. The video captured Julia leaning close to him, her voice soft but insistent. "Remember, Leo, when the judge asks you about Daddy, you have to tell him the truth. Tell him Daddy yells and pushes you." My son looked confused and shook his head. "But Daddy doesn't." Julia's face hardened. "Yes, he does. You just don't remember because you were scared. Pretend like we practice. If you want to stay with Mommy, you have to say Daddy hurt you." I sat there trembling as I watched her pressure our little boy into lying. It was undeniable evidence. I saved it, copied it onto multiple drives, and immediately sent it to my lawyer. When the custody hearing arrived, the atmosphere was tense. Julia and her attorney painted me as a dangerous man, using tears and carefully crafted stories to sway the court. She described fabricated fights, false acts of aggression, even moments she claimed Leo had witnessed. Sitting there in silence, I could feel the judge's sympathy leaning toward her. Then Mr. Allen stood and requested to present new evidence. Julia's lawyer jumped up, objecting, but the judge allowed it. My lawyer connected his laptop to the courtroom's monitor and pressed play. The room went silent as Julia's own voice filled the air. Everyone heard her calmly instructing our son to lie, telling him that pretending was the only way he could stay with her. The look on Julia's face as the video played was one I'll never forget: shock, dread, and the collapse of her entire case. When it ended, the judge stared at her in silence before addressing her lawyer. You may want to advise your client to reconsider her approach. A recess was called, and Julia rushed out pale and trembling. Her lawyer later returned to us with an offer to drop the allegations and agree to joint custody, with all communication going through attorneys. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "No, we're letting the judge decide." The ruling came down soon after, full custody awarded to me. The judge condemned Julia's behavior as harmful and manipulative. She was granted only supervised visits, and I was granted an order of protection for Leo and myself. Relief washed over me like a weight lifting from my chest. It wasn't joy. I hadn't won anything I ever wanted to win, but I had protected my son from being weaponized in a cruel game. Soon after, I took Leo away for a weekend in the mountains. We played, talked, and I held him close. I told him he never had to be afraid to tell the truth, that with me he would always be safe. It will take time to heal, but we have each other, and that's what matters now.